Welcome to the Transform Your Relationship podcast, where we'll go beyond the typical relationship advice. I'm your host, Manisha Terry, somatic healing practitioner and mentor. Each week, I'll share personal insights, client success stories, and how my holistic trauma-informed approach can help you transform your relationship from the inside out. You'll learn ways to recognize and prioritize your needs, get to the root of what's upsetting you, and courageously ask for what you want so you can confidently co-create the relationship you desire. You'll also hear from guest experts who will be invited to share their unique approaches to transformation, and at the end of each episode, you'll receive one tangible practice you can implement right away to transform your relationship. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this last episode of the Transform Your Relationship podcast for 2023. I am recording this the last week of December, and in fact, I was supposed to release this a little bit earlier this week, but we had a bit of a family emergency, which is resolving itself right now and definitely on the upside. So I figured I would still get it out the last day before the new year. It is a little bit different than what I usually share, but very similar to what I shared last year around the same time. I've recorded a meditation for all of us to help us process what has come up for us for this year. This has been a really big year, I think, globally. I think if you are in any kind of healing journey or spiritual path, there have been so many world events that have really rocked us and asked us to reckon with our belief systems, our value systems, like how we see the world. There's so much divide right now politically, as well as otherwise, and it's making relationships really, really difficult. And what I can tell you, just what I have experienced in the last couple of months, I was on a family trip to India back in November, and then just recently with this family emergency, I have found so much solace in community care and people really being there for each other and showing up, and maybe different people than you would expect to show up, or people that weren't necessarily around before, but kind of come into your life in the right moments and are available for you. There's just been so much of that. And I'm just feeling incredibly grateful because everyone's going through stuff, whether it's personal, professional. And again, like as we're seeing so many of these really difficult global events unfold, the atrocities that are happening, it's so hard to hold space for all of it. I have found in talking with some good friends and colleagues that, everyone has a different take and a different capacity really to be with what's happening for them personally, but then also attend to what's happening globally and get more information, learn more, sit with it. And it's, it's been difficult because I've always been somebody who will move towards like something even when it's difficult, because I think partially that's how I'm built. It's also why I do the work I do. I can sit with people when they are moving through really challenging things, through grief, through in some capacity re-experiencing some of the trauma that they've experienced so that they can heal it and let it go. And not everybody is oriented that way. Not everybody is built that way. And I really do think that a lot of the work that I've done over the years in my own personal healing journey has allowed me to be able to hold space and sit in that space with other people. But even as we have seen in this last few months, all of the different atrocities that are happening and all of the different peoples and nations and countries that are struggling and suffering, it can be really, really difficult to witness and see that level of violence literally on our phones anytime we open something. And, some people might say like, well, don't look at it. And in my personal opinion, I think we have to look at these things because this is a reflection of the current world we're living in. And if we want to take action in a way that moves things forward, in a way that aligns with our values, then we have to be aware of what's going on. So part of the purpose of recording this kind of practice for all of us, this experiential meditation practice, is really for us to be able to sit with what is arising within us. So there's nothing in the practice or the meditation that refers to anything specific. It's really a body-based practice that can allow you to sit, have a little quiet space and quiet time to notice what is coming up for you. And you obviously can use it for any situation. If you are moving through something personal and you really need a little bit of time to process that, bring that into your awareness as you dive into the practice. If you are really struggling with what is happening globally, then use that, because again, I know that it is really dividing families and affecting relationships. And, the reason I'm even bringing this to this podcast is because this is all about what is happening internally and how does that impact our relationships. And community and relationships are everything, because even though we might want to be independent to a certain degree, and certainly we want to have that healthy sense of self, really ultimately, we need to take care of each other. And it's really difficult to do that when all we can experience is reactivity or frustration or anger. And not that all of those things are not valid in different ways. I am a big, big proponent in terms of supporting my clients to feel their way through all of those things, because those are not emotions to be bypassed. I think that they give us information. I think all of our emotions give us information. However, if we sit and stew and sort of cycle in those same emotions without coming to a place where we can understand what they mean for us and what they're asking us to do, and maybe how they're giving us clues about what aligns with our values and what doesn't, and what action we want to take next, then they are really just affecting our bodies in a really negative way. The repression of those, or the cycling through of those constantly without making a movement forward, I have seen in really every client that I've worked with, and definitely myself, that is never helpful for our bodies and our minds and our spirits. So I offer this to you really in service of supporting you in moving through whatever it is you are moving through at this time of year, even if everything in your life is wonderful. And I am so happy for you if that is. Things will arise, and it can be really, really helpful to move through them as they occur. So this is a gift for you for the end of the year. I will look forward to, bringing you other content as per usual in the new year, but this is really on my heart and on my mind, and I hope that it is useful to you. So I'm going to just in a moment transition us to a guided practice where you just get to sit with and be with what you're feeling and alchemize it. We're not going to go for super long. The practice will probably be around 7 to 9 minutes or so, but I'm going to invite you to get into a comfortable position, maybe lie down, or you can sit up in a chair, maybe have your back supported or have your legs supported. You can keep your eyes open. You can close them if you feel safe enough to do so. Whatever works, so that the next 7 to 9 minutes, all you're being asked to do is notice and feel what is happening inside of you, right? Without all of the immediate reactions, right? So taking your time and getting into whatever position that feels good. You can pause this if you need to go ahead and do that. And then as you get settled, just start to take some breaths, and that's it for this couple of moments. Just breathe, right? Is your breath shallow? Is it deep? Is it feeling a little bit scattered, uneven? Is there a rhythm to it? You don't need to do a whole lot to change it just yet in this moment. Can you bring your attention to your body and notice the places where it's feeling tight, the places where maybe it's feeling a little bit stuck or even hesitant to rest into the chair or the ground or the couch or the bed. You're noticing some of those places for yourself. Can you do the tiniest little bit of reorganizing of yourself, or fidgeting even, to release some of that physical tension or stress? And then as you continue to settle into this place, right, of a little bit more stillness, let's bring your attention just to your mind and your thoughts. And notice what you're thinking. Right? We don't need to try to push them away in this moment. We're not trying to force anything from happening. We're really giving ourselves some space to feel our bodies. Let's notice the physical sensations. Bring some awareness to your thoughts. Are you cycling around a similar thought? Do you feel completely scattered in your thoughts? Does it feel like your mind is racing? Simply notice, right? We're giving space for whatever is arising. And shifting your attention slightly over to your emotional body. And just observe if there's any emotions that are coming up really strongly. Right? So often we move towards feeling reactivity and moving straight to rage or anger, and we kind of overlook what's sitting underneath that, maybe a deep level of sadness or grief or shock. Even though that's not an emotion, like we can have this like feeling of complete overwhelm and shock in our systems. It's really debilitating. So I'd love for you to just give yourself some space to notice what is coming up for you. And I know that it can be, for some people, that can even be overwhelming or feel a little bit scary, because going to the depths of our feelings is not really something that we're taught. So go slowly. Even if you feel the tiniest fraction of something that's coming up for you, you're giving it some space. You're honoring that within yourself. Maybe you've been feeling guilty or bad for feeling a certain way. And also giving that space can help it dissipate. So coming back to your physical body. And as you continue to breathe, maybe now, if it feels okay, you can begin to deepen your breath a little bit. Maybe deepen your inhale, maybe even exhale out of your mouth. As you do that, feeling the parts of your body that are connected to the surface get a little bit heavier. And so now more intentionally bringing a relaxed state into your physical body. And as you continue to allow that to settle super gently, it doesn't have to be a long time. Just kind of notice your thoughts again. Check in with any emotions. They may feel stronger. They may feel a little bit dissipated. You might notice some tears come up. You might notice that you really just organically need to move your body to help you release something. Just taking your time here, right? We're not trying to come to some specific conclusion or solve anything. The purpose of this practice is really to help you metabolize or alchemize any of the intense emotions that have been coming up. And if you wish to stay here a little bit longer on your own, you can pause here and kind of move through that process on your own, however many times that you wish. If you feel like you are good for right now, and this was a good bite-sized time to sit with some of this, you can start to just move your body a little bit. If your eyes were closed, you can begin to open them. And take your time. If your eyes were closed and you're opening them, or even if they were open, just reorient yourself to the room. Look around, see where you are. Maybe grab a glass of water if you don't have anything nearby. You might feel or notice that a lot of emotions or, thoughts or experiences or stories came up, and if it feels right, you can sit with a journal and write a little bit to help some of that move through you. You might even go take a walk if you're able to outside and just get a little bit of fresh air. There's lots of ways to shift out of these practices that can help you ground even a little bit more. And again, this is not to solve something or get to a specific conclusion, but I find that when there is, personal overwhelm going on and then global overwhelm, and I imagine for many people, these things become, intertwined at some point. We all have to move forward in our own lives and have responsibilities and people that we're taking care of and things that we're doing that we have to focus on. And when that meets really difficult things that are going on in the world, it can absolutely impact us. And if you're impacted, you're human. This is not something that we need to try to pretend like we're not affected by. As a caring human being, you are going to be affected when there are other people who are struggling and suffering, and especially to the degree that we're witnessing. So I'm going to pause here because I really want to just offer you a little bit of space to move through your own process. Again, any kind of movement, drinking some water, going outside, and notice what this brought up for you. Notice how you were feeling at the end of it. Did it shift anything in the sense that it offered you perhaps just a little bit more space to move on with the rest of your day or to have a particular conversation? I mean, I brought this into our world today because I am really feeling the impacts of it. And I think as a sensitive human being who's empathic, it's nearly impossible for these things not to impact us. And I really want to say that that's not something that we should necessarily feel bad about, because it really strengthens our own humanity when we can care for others. And if there are ways that we can learn to metabolize and work through so that we can become allies, that is really the key, because nobody benefits from us being completely overwhelmed and paralyzed and not being able to take action or speak up or support others or again, be an ally and stand up for something that you believe in. So I'm going to leave you with this for the end of 2023. We'll be back in 2024, which is obviously just around the corner, with more content around all the complexities of navigating relationships, so that we can really be in deep connection, because I know that for so many of you, that's such a high priority in your relationships, to be seen and heard and feel connected. And there's no one size fits all solution for that, especially when you're a highly sensitive, empathic human and connection is your priority. So more on that to come in the new year. I hope this practice was helpful. As always, if you have any thoughts or questions, you're always welcome to message me. You can DM me on Instagram or send me an email. And really, truly, I hope this was of service to you. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode of the Transform Your Relationship podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts to help more people find us so they can transform their relationships too. As a thank you, every month, we'll pick one winner to receive a free 45-minute one-on-one somatic coaching session with me to explore and gain clarity around a relationship challenge. And if you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the show, then please do share and help me reach more highly sensitive women who want to experience richer, more connected relationships.